May 5th, 1993. In a quiet town called West Memphis, Arkansas, 3 8-year-old boys left home to play, just like they had on countless afternoons before. But this time, they never came home. By the next day, the entire community was in shock. A heartbreaking discovery transformed an ordinary spring afternoon into one of the most controversial criminal cases in American history. As investigators searched for answers, fear quickly turned into suspicion. Rumors spread across the town. Headlines fueled panic, and before long, 3 local teenagers found themselves at the center of a murder investigation that would divide the nation for decades. Some people believed justice had been served. Others believed the wrong people had been accused. More than 30 years later, one question still refuses to disappear. Did the police catch the real killers? Or did America witness one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in modern history? Tonight, we're taking you back to where it all began. This is the story of the West Memphis Three, a quiet town before the nightmare. In the spring of 1993, West Memphis, Arkansas was a small, working-class American town. It wasn't the kind of place people expected to see on the national news. Most families knew their neighbors. Children rode their bicycles through the streets, played outside until sunset, and parents believed their community was relatively safe. Among those children were 3 best friends: Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers. All 3 were just 8 years old. Like countless kids across America, they loved riding bikes, exploring the neighborhood, and spending every possible minute together. To their families, May 5th, 1993 began as nothing more than another ordinary Wednesday. No one could have imagined that within just a few hours, those 3 boys would disappear, and their names would become known across the entire United States. As evening approached, the boys still hadn't returned home. At first, their parents assumed they had simply stayed out later than usual. But as daylight faded into darkness, concern quickly turned into panic. One family called another. Neighbors began searching the streets. Volunteers spread across the neighborhood, calling the boys' names over and over again. Soon, local police joined the search. No one knew it yet, but one of America's most controversial murder investigations had already begun. The afternoon of May 5th, 1993 seemed completely ordinary. After school, Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers met up, grabbed their bicycles, and headed out to play. For children in West Memphis, that was a normal part of everyday life. As the hours passed, however, something began to feel wrong. Dinner time came and went. One by one, the boys' families realized they hadn't come home. At first, parents searched the neighborhood themselves. They checked nearby streets, parks, friends' houses, and the places where the boys usually played, but there was no sign of them. As daylight disappeared, anxiety turned into fear. Neighbors joined the search. Flashlights lit up the streets. People called the boys' names over and over, hoping to hear a response. Soon, local police organized a larger search effort. Officers, volunteers, and family members searched through wooded areas, drainage ditches, and nearby locations late into the night. Hours passed, but the 3 boys had simply vanished. No one knew where they were. No one knew what had happened. For their families, it was the longest night of their lives. As the sun rose the next morning, search teams focused on an area known as Robin Hood Hills, a wooded section on the edge of town. What they were about to discover would shock the entire nation, and nothing in West Memphis would ever be the same again. On the morning of May 6, 1993, the search resumed with even greater urgency. Police officers, investigators, volunteers, and desperate family members continued looking for any sign of the missing boys. Then, near a wooded area known as Robin Hood Hills, searchers made a devastating discovery. The bodies of Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were found in a shallow drainage canal. The search was over, but the investigation had only just begun. Within hours, the quiet town of West Memphis was transformed into the center of a national tragedy. Police immediately secured the area as a crime scene. Investigators began collecting physical evidence, interviewing witnesses, and trying to reconstruct the final hours of the boys' lives. At that moment, detectives faced one overwhelming question. Who could have committed such a terrible crime, and why? As news spread across Arkansas and then the rest of the United States, fear and speculation grew rapidly. Residents locked their doors. Parents kept their children indoors. Rumors spread through neighborhoods, schools, and local media. Everyone wanted answers. But in the earliest days of the investigation, detectives had no clear suspect and no definitive explanation for what had happened. The pressure on law enforcement was immense. The public demanded justice. The families demanded answers. And as that pressure intensified, the investigation took a direction that would remain controversial for decades to come. In the days following the murders, investigators worked around the clock. They interviewed witnesses, followed tips from the public, and searched for anyone who might have information about the crime. Hundreds of leads were reported. Most of them went nowhere. But as the investigation continued, detectives began focusing on a small group of local teenagers. One name quickly stood out: Damien Echols. At the time, Echols was known around town for wearing black clothing, listening to heavy metal music, and expressing interests that many people in the conservative community considered unusual. His close friends, Baldwin and Jessie Misskelley Jr., soon came under scrutiny as well. It's important to understand the atmosphere of West Memphis in 1993. Across the United States, fears about so-called satanic ritual abuse were widespread. Many communities believed that violent crimes could be connected to secret cults or occult practices, even though many of claims were later found to have little or no evidence. As spread, public suspicion grew. Investigators continued questioning the three teenagers. Then, one interview changed the entire course of the case. Jessie Misskelley Jr. gave a statement to police that investigators believed connected the three teenagers to the murders. That statement became one of the most important pieces of evidence in the case. But almost immediately, serious questions began to emerge. Was the confession accurate? Or had investigators placed too much trust in a statement that would later become one of the most controversial confessions in American criminal history? Those questions would soon move from the interrogation room to the courtroom. By early 1994, the investigation had turned into one of the most closely watched criminal cases in Arkansas. Prosecutors argued that Damien Echols, Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr. were responsible for the murders. The defense strongly disagreed. They argued that the investigation had been rushed, that key evidence was weak, and that the case relied too heavily on Jessie Misskelley's controversial confession. As the trial unfolded, both sides presented their arguments before the jury. The courtroom was filled with emotion. The victims' families wanted justice. The defendants' families insisted the three teenagers were innocent. Outside the courthouse, public opinion became deeply divided. Some believed prosecutors had built a convincing case. Others believed investigators had focused on the wrong suspects from the very beginning. After days of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached its verdict. Jessie Misskelley Jr. was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, plus additional years. Baldwin was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Damien Echols was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. For many people, the case appeared to be over, but for others, it was only the beginning. In the years that followed, journalists, filmmakers, legal experts, and independent investigators would begin re-examining the evidence. And what they found would reignite one of the biggest debates in modern American criminal justice. Years passed. Most criminal cases fade from the public's memory, but the story of the West Memphis Three refused to disappear. Journalists, legal experts, and independent investigators began taking a closer look at the evidence. Then came advances in DNA testing, technology that was far more powerful than what had been available during the original investigation. As new forensic tests were conducted, they did not produce DNA evidence that directly linked Damien Echols, Baldwin, or Jessie Misskelley Jr. to the crime scene. For many supporters, that raised a critical question. Had three innocent men spent years behind bars for crimes they didn't commit? At the same time, prosecutors maintained that the convictions were still supported by the overall evidence presented at trial. The debate intensified across the country. Documentaries, books, and national media coverage brought the case to millions of Americans. Celebrities, lawyers, and activists publicly called for the convictions to be reviewed. Others argued that the original jury had already heard the evidence and reached its decision. The case had evolved into something much larger than a single criminal trial. It became a national conversation about forensic science, police investigations, confessions, and whether the American justice system can sometimes make irreversible mistakes. Nearly 2 decades after the convictions, the pressure to re-examine the case had reached a breaking point. In 2011, an unexpected legal agreement would change everything, but it would not end the controversy. In August 2011, after spending nearly 18 years in prison, an unexpected legal agreement changed the course of the case. Rather than face the uncertainty of a new trial, Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr. accepted what is known as an Alford Plea. Under an Alford Plea, a defendant maintains their claim of innocence while acknowledging that prosecutors have enough evidence that could potentially lead to a conviction at trial. The agreement allowed all 3 men to walk out of prison that same day. For their families, it was an emotional moment that had been nearly 2 decades in the making. But for the families of Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, one painful question remained: who was truly responsible for the murders? Even today, the case continues to divide public opinion. Some believe the convictions should never have happened. Others believe the original verdicts were justified. And despite decades of investigation, debate, and media attention, the murders of the 3 boys remain one of the most controversial criminal cases in American history. More than 30 years have passed, yet many questions remain unanswered. Was justice truly served? Or does the real truth still lie hidden somewhere in the evidence? Only those who know exactly what happened on that spring day in 1993 know the complete answer. And for everyone else, the mystery of the West Memphis Three lives on. Thank you for watching. The West Memphis Three case continues to spark debate among investigators, legal experts, and the public. Different people have reached different conclusions after reviewing the available evidence. Our goal in this documentary has been to present the story respectfully and based on the historical record, not to decide guilt or innocence. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing for more in-depth true crime stories from across America. And before you go, let us know in the comments, what do you think really happened in West Memphis? We'll see you in the next documentary.